We are about to play a game. I've got 2 volunteers. We're about to go on an adventure. Oh gosh, be careful with that. Okay, put everything on the rug, and then go sit with mom and dad. Put it on the rug, go sit with mom and dad, or somebody. Good job. Okay, you don't need your stuff. Keep your stuff with you. Good job. Okay, Emma, stand right over here. Ben, stand right over here on this side of the rug. We are going to go on an adventure. You guys ready? Yeah. This is Ben. This is Emma. Say hi, Emma. Hi. Say hi, Ben. Hi. Are you ready to go on an adventure? Yes. Are you ready to go on an adventure? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to count down from 10. And you have to pick 5 things. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so there's about 10 things. Go sit with Dad. There he is. Go sit with Dad. Okay, you got 10 seconds to pick things for your adventure. On your mark, get set, go. 10, 9, put them on that side of the rug. 7, put them over there. Hurry. Oh my goodness. Okay, Emma, what do you have? She has a wetsuit. Okay. She has a towel. Okay, so maybe you're going to the beach, except, wait, what else do you have here? A snowboard, a jacket, gloves, and a scarf. Okay, what do you have over here, Ben?
I got a surfboard.
A surfboard?
I got
a shovel, okay. Sunscreen. A helmet. Maybe that's for your surfing. Is that a surfing helmet? And a beanie. Okay, so I hate to tell you this, Emma, but your adventure is actually a surfing adventure. So how do you think you'll do a surfing with a snowboard? Oh no. And Ben, you're going snowboarding. Do you think you're going to be able to snowboard with a surfing board? That's okay. All right, let's put everything back in the middle. Put everything back in the middle. Okay, we're going to play this again, only this time, before you pick your items for your adventure, I'm going to tell you where we're going. Wouldn't that be helpful? Okay, Emma, your adventure, you're going surfing. Okay, so the beach, get all the things that you think you need to be prepared to go to the beach. Okay, and Ben, you are going to the mountain. You're going snowboarding. It's going to be a really great adventure. Try to get all the things that you think you need to go to the mountain. Let me help you out a little bit. Okay, on your mark, get set, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Can you get those things? 3, 2, 1. Wow. Okay. So now Emma she still has her wetsuit, and she's got a towel, she's got a surfboard, she's got a shovel to dig in the sand, she's got some sunscreen, it's really helpful. Ben had a beanie, Ben's got a scarf, he's got a snowboard, gloves, a jacket, and a helmet. Hey, tell him great job. Great job, you guys. Okay, go have a seat. You can go have a seat now. Great job, everyone. Do I still have my Bible back there? Can I have that hat too? So as a thank you, I want to give Ben and Emma both a Hills beanie. Great job, dude. You can go sit down. Here you go, Em. There you go. Awesome. How many of you know it's easier to be prepared when you know where you're going? It's easier to be prepared. When you know where you're going, you're going to do better, aren't you? And it is impossible to know where you're going if you can't see, right? You need vision to know where you're going. You need vision to know where you're going. We are starting a new series called Adventure of a Lifetime. And did you know, you may not even realize it, but your life is going somewhere. At least I hope it's going somewhere. And I want my life to be an adventure. And I believe the best adventure is following Jesus. Jesus said in John 10:10, I have come that you would have life and have it to the full. The fullest life is following Jesus. The best adventure imaginable is following Jesus. Doesn't it make sense that the one who gave you life, following him would be the best fulfillment and the best life you could find? So we're going on an adventure. It's the adventure of a lifetime. Where do we start? Where do we start this adventure? There's a guy named Stephen Covey who wrote a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he says one of the 7 habits of people who are highly effective is they begin with the end in mind. In other words, when you're starting something, when you're starting an adventure, you don't think about the first step first. Isn't that confusing? You actually are supposed to think about the very end first, which is kind of hard for us who are following Jesus because we cannot see the end. The end is not here, right? This world is not the end. That's when your vision has to go beyond what you can see. A visionary is someone who sees things that are in the future, right? The best visionaries see things that don't exist yet. In 1997, there was a guy named Steve Jobs who introduced a product. And he said, this is an iPod, it's a phone, and it's an internet communication device. And then he held it up and he said, this is an iPod, it's a phone, and it's an internet communication device. Those things had never been combined before, right? He saw something that didn't exist. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy, stood up in front of a bunch of people and said, I believe we should go to the moon. And the technology to get a man to the moon didn't even exist whenever he made that announcement. He saw something. The best visionaries see something that doesn't even exist yet. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. He saw justice that didn't even exist yet. The best visionaries see things that don't exist yet. You know, we have people here who are architects and engineers, and their work is on things that don't exist yet. An architect draws something that doesn't exist yet. An engineer solves a problem that the solution doesn't even exist yet. And we also have someone else that's really special here. You are special. God gave you imagination to think of things, to envision things. You get to have vision for the future. That's why vision is so important, because when you think of things that don't exist yet, you get to make them a reality. That's why vision is important. Proverbs 29:18 says this, where there is no vision, people perish. Where there is no vision, people perish. In other words, if we don't figure out where we're going, right? You see where you're going, that's vision. If you don't figure out where we're going, we are destined for failure. And in a very real way, we're all destined for failure. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but Jesus said, God so loved the world. This is John 3:16. You may have heard this before. God so loved the world that whoever believes in him will not perish. Where there is no vision, people perish. And if you can't see something that's beyond this life, you lose out on the life Jesus has for you. We need vision because people need Jesus. That's why your vision has to be bigger than you. And so today, I want you to dream, and I want you to say, God, give me a vision for my life. Not just something that you can come up with. God's vision. And here's why. Because the best vision comes from the highest place. The best vision comes from the highest place. I took my kids to Bates Nut Farm. I always say that wrong, and it's embarrassing. And there's a maze made out of hay. And I had a really good advantage of my kids because the hay maze was only this tall. Taller than all my kids, but still shorter than me. You know why I had an advantage? I could see the whole maze. They're just looking and hay is right in front of them, right? I mean, they're faster than me, but I could see the whole maze. That's how God is. When you get a vision from God for your life, he sees everything. And you will know you're heading in the right direction when it's bigger than anything you can accomplish on your own. I know this for sure. God's ultimate vision, God's vision for your life is to bring him glory. Last week, we finished up a conversation about being healthy in all the ways, and we kind of landed on the way you see yourself is like this. Your life is incredibly valuable, but it's not about you. It's not about you. It's all about Jesus. And when he is involved, the potential is unlimited. I was thinking the other day about how we're a new church and we kind of have a lot of limited things. We have limited resources. Resources just means what you have. We have limited people. We have limited money. We have limited experience. And then it hit me. God is not limited by my lack. God is not limited by my lack. And depending on what your personality is like, you probably felt one of two ways just now when I said that. Some of you were like, yeah, baby, God is not limited by my lack. Or for some of you, you may have been thinking, oh no, what is he going to say next? I think there's two types of people in the world. There's dreamers and there's realists. And sometimes people fall kind of in between the two, so don't feel like you have to pick a camp. But I am a dreamer, and my wife, Amy, is a realist. And I'm so grateful that you're a realist because you help me stay connected to reality. If it wasn't for Amy, I would not be connected to reality very often. And the other side of that is sometimes I help stretch your vision of what is possible. And so we need each other, right? If you're a dreamer, don't roll your eyes at the realist because they're probably the one who's going to help make your dreams come true because they see reality. And if you are a realist, don't roll your eyes at the dreamer. Because we're the reason there are iPhones. We're the reason that there's like a civil rights movement. We're the reason we got to the moon. There's astronauts because of dreamers. Listen, I mean, it takes both. It takes both. 3 years ago, I remember my family was living a comfortable, low-risk life in Texas. We never worried if we were going to get paid or not. We had tons of friends. We had family close by. And we felt like we got this vision from God. And I really do believe it was from God. I don't always talk like that. I don't act like I have like an inside scoop on what God is saying. Usually I just read the Bible and I say that's what God's saying. But I really felt like he gave us a vision to move across the country, or I guess halfway across the country from Texas to here, and to kind of live as missionaries, loving our neighbors well, building a team, starting a church. And I remember in the early days, we didn't have any idea how we would even afford to move, much less how we would afford to live here. And it was literally just you and me, Amy, for a little while. People joined the team, but people would ask us how. And I'm really sorry, realists, but I'm going to tell you this. Vision never starts with how. You can't start with how and have great vision. You got to figure out how, and if you want to come back next week, I'll give you a little bit of tension here. We're not actually talking about how the vision gets accomplished today, because next week is how we get there. This is where are we going. Next week is how do we get there. So, I remember Amy used to say, I hope you don't mind me saying this. She probably only said it once, but it really stuck with me. She said, we're moving across the country for something that doesn't even exist yet. And she was right. The church that exists now only existed in our minds. It wasn't real. And so the cool thing is I really believe it was God's vision because we're a church now. And here's what I know about vision. You can't stop God's vision. You can't stop. Jesus said, I'll build my church and the gates of hell won't be able to stand against it. You cannot stop God's vision. So I want to show you what it kind of looked like in the early days when we were sharing it, before we ever had a worship service, before we had all these amazing teams and people and leaders. So yeah, you can go ahead and start it.
3.3 million people. That's the population of San Diego County. Over 90% of them don't claim to be followers of Jesus. Almost 3 million people wake up each day searching for meaning and satisfaction in things that don't last. That translates to almost 3 million souls hanging in the balance of eternity. Every one of them with the desire to be known and loved, because we all want to be known for who we really are, and loved unconditionally, loved by someone who truly wants the best for us. Many of us understand that we are loved and seen by a God who knows us better than we could ever imagine, who loves us with a mighty love, so mighty that he sacrificed his own son so we might have a relationship with him. But so many people have not experienced this life-changing love of the Father. Every soul matters to God. And likewise, that should matter to us. No one is too far from his reach. And yeah, it seems impossible to reach 3 million people, but God is the God of impossible. He's doing things greater than we can ask or imagine. God is already on the move in San Diego. We've seen and heard incredible stories of how he is connecting people to their purpose and showing them grace. Jesus modeled unbelievable, unstoppable, amazing grace. And we want to be an extension of his grace to the broken and the ones who think everything is fine, because we all know that something isn't right. And in the midst of this brokenness, our message is come. Be accepted without having to pretend to have it all together. Experience real relationship. We step out in this journey of sharing what God has done, full of faith. We pray big expectant prayers, even in the midst of doubt and questions, because faith is built by trusting God in the unseen. We aren't building a church. Jesus promised he would do that. He said, I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not be able to stand against it. What he asked us to do is make disciples. So we are building relationships, because that's how life change happens. We don't have a building yet, and that's okay. We don't need one, because there's not a building in the city that will hold all that God is going to do. Our purpose is to be disciples, people who are following Jesus, being changed by Jesus, and committed to the mission of Jesus. We want to lead people into a life-changing relationship with Jesus, and he does the changing, the transforming. Every life has value, potential, and meaning. How many people are yet to find their meaning? Why are we waiting to share with them the love of Jesus? And what is to be said by every life changed, every marriage restored, every addiction broken, a new direction for the next generation? May it be for the glory of God. May he be seen as the one who did it all. He will accomplish his purpose, with or without us. How humbling that we are invited to be a part of what he is doing. And you are too. You are invited to come, invited to pray, invited to give. God is working. He is moving. Would you be a part? Will you join us?
And isn't it cool? You can't stop God's vision. That's why I want you to ask God for a vision for your life. It's cool that we're seeing and hearing the things that you heard Ramika, our friend who narrated that. By the way, Ramika and Andrea were the only people in that video that are actually part of our church today. Yeah, and you want to know why? Because that video was taken when I still lived in Texas. We weren't even in California yet. Here's what I know about vision. You have to see it before you see it, or you'll never see it. That might sound confusing, but when we made that video and we put together this idea of what we believe God was calling us to do, that was me asking people to see something that didn't exist yet. And that's why I want you to ask God for a vision for your life. But you have to see it before you see it, or you'll never see it. And that video was asking me to ask people to see it before it was there. That was my life for 2 years, by the way. I remember just telling people this vision that we believe was from God, and we boiled it down. We boiled down our vision into one statement. And so if you're wondering what the vision of the Hills Community Church is, here it is. To carry the mission of Jesus into every neighborhood, starting in San Marcos. We believe the world will be better when people know Jesus. And we believe it's a neighborhood by neighborhood thing. It's not like we have to reach the world day one. You just get to reach your neighborhood. I got away for about half a day in December. And I just spent some time praying and saying, Lord, give me fresh vision for what you want for our church. And I don't pretend to be like a prophet or a fortune teller, but I really do believe God speaks. And so I spent some time praying, reading scripture, writing down things that I felt like maybe God was saying. And I want to share those with you. I wrote down some stuff that I believe we'll see this year, 2022, maybe even in 5 years, 2027. And then I even prayed and dreamed long term, in 20 years. And so here's what I wrote down for 2022. This year, we will be a church that gets real. We get real in our relationship with God. We get real in our relationships with each other. I see us having real conversations, real fun, real life change. And I believe this year we'll see 20 stories of people who have had their lives changed by Jesus. That sounds like a lot, right? You may ask, like, where are those people? I think some of them are sitting here right now. Maybe even you are someone that your life will be changed by Jesus. I also think there's people in your neighborhood that wouldn't come here, but you're going to them, and you can love them, and you can share your life with them. You can share what Jesus has done in your life, and maybe you'll get to see your neighbors' lives changed by Jesus. Maybe some of them aren't even people that we know yet, people in the neighborhoods around us that we're going to try to invite to come to Easter, because that's like the one day that they'll come to church. So that's what I see as happening in this year. Our 5-year vision, 2027, I see our church growing, not just in the people that we reach, but growing in life change stories. Seeing people have their lives changed by Jesus. Up to 50 people, I believe we'll see 50 people have their lives changed by Jesus. We'll be sharing those stories in places like Sunday morning, in groups. And I also believe we will be growing in our commitment, a sense of ownership. So much so that I believe in 2027, which is 5 years from now, our church will be completely funded from inside of our church. Now, you may not know this, but the only reason this church exists is because of generous people and even churches and organizations who have invested to help make this church a reality. And so that's an incredible thing that they're so like kingdom-minded to invest in the hills. But it's not sustainable. And so I believe in the next 5 years, God is going to bring a sense of ownership to the people of the hills, so much so that we bring in the money that we need to fund ministry. And once we do that, we're going to start saving up for things like a building. We're going to start sending out missionaries, church planters. So the next step is I see in 20 years, I see us growing so much so that the mission of Jesus reaches every corner of San Marcos. That's a generation from now. I'm so glad the kids are in here, because you know what, kids? Maybe you will reach a part of San Marcos that we won't reach in this generation. It's a generational vision. I see us becoming a sending church, sending out 10 missionaries, sending out 3 teams that will plant churches here in Southern California and all around the world. That's kind of what I see our vision as a church. And I want to ask you to buy into it, but more than that, I want to ask you to ask God for a vision for your life. I can't be the only one who's hearing from God. I want you to be someone who's full of vision. Not just what you can think of, but what God would do. I'm not a fortune teller. This is why you've got to have vision for the future. I don't know what the future holds. Can you believe we didn't predict the pandemic? I don't know what the future holds, but I know the one who holds the future, and I trust him. I want us to be people who have vision like Daniel. He said this in Daniel 7, verses 13 and 14. In my vision at night I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. And he was given authority, glory, sovereign power. All nations and peoples of every language worshiped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away. And of his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. Who is that talking about? Jesus. That's what I want our vision to be. Jesus, his whole life was spent saying he has this vision that heaven would come to earth. And that's what he prayed whenever he taught his disciples to pray. May your will be done. May your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's the kind of vision I want us to have. But you have to see it before you can see it, or you'll never see it.